The First Million Words, Episode 32, Contemporary Fantasy with Jim Butcher. We already, you were basically, you wrote it because you wanted to kind of prove somebody wrong. Like you started out epic fantasy, and then here you are now writing in modern day Chicago.
Right.
You ever been to Noah's Ark up around there?
No.
Oh, it's great water park. It's actually technically Wisconsin, but I'm from around there, so I'm from like north Chicago, where I could basically throw a rock into Wisconsin if I wanted to.
Right.
So yeah, when I read the Dresden Files, it's like there's that little bit that hits me where it's, I've been there, and he like Harry still calls it the Sears Tower, even though it's a different tower now.
Right.
And that's what we all do. It's like if we're from there,
exactly.
We remember it as the Sears Tower, and I like that. Did you pick Chicago just because because there actually are ley lines under Chicago?
No, I picked Chicago because my writing teacher said I couldn't set it in Kansas City.
Oh.
She says, I'm sorry, I wish there was a more dramatic, awesome reason for it, but she says, with the series that you're writing, you're already going to be walking close enough to Laurel Hamilton's toes that you don't need to set it in Missouri as well. So why don't you pick a different city? I said, what city? She's like, it doesn't really matter. It's any other city. And there was a globe on her desk, and on the globe, there were 4 American cities marked, and I didn't want to do D.C. because if you're writing in D.C., then you have to write about politics because it's D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what you write, you're going to lose half your audience. And then I didn't want to do New York because New York's all sewn up by Superman, Spider-Man, and those guys. They pretty much got that wrapped up pretty tight. And plus, all the editors live in New York, so there would just be hell on you if you got anything wrong.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do L.A. Because L.A. I mean, that's the whole Hollywood scene, and there's its whole little vibe. It is not something that I agreed with so much that I wanted to do at the time. And so the last city there was Chicago. I said, "How about Chicago?" And she says, "Oh yeah, that'll be fine." I said, "Okay, Chicago." And
Uh-oh. I think I lost connection. Oh, are we back?
Hello?
Hey, there you are.
Yeah, I've got you, but not Guillermo.
Okay, hang on. Let me try to re-add him. Hang on.
Oh, there he is.
Everything good?
There we go. That would be the Murphyonic field.
Yes, exactly.
I actually bought a new microphone for this because my old one just kind of took a dump. So I think I have one of those too, but I'm not a wizard.
No, you're just clumsy.
So I think we were on. You picked Chicago because it was just kind of portentous.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was on the globe.
It was there.
And it was there, and I was on a deadline. So I just grabbed it, and then started researching it slowly and with increasing depth as I went along. I don't think I had a lot of local contacts there until maybe book 6 that I could go to and say, hey, I need to know if this is accurate or if that's accurate. And also, in 1996, I mean, there wasn't really an internet. I mean, there was a net there, but things like Google Map did not exist.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you could send email and you could type in a website, but there really wasn't. Search engines were still a ways off.
Yeah, I remember there was the Weekly World News website. That's the only one I remember from back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was before search engines. That's how old it was.
Yeah.
But so I mean, it's not like it is so much easier to do the research and so on now, because I can pick a specific building and zoom in on it and say, okay, well, if I'm going to have a sniper on the roof of this building, and then if I take out these all these headlights and this is the only, or all these street lights, then, because I can see the street lights on the satellite image and this is where somebody have to be standing. And I actually had somebody who was a SWAT sniper in Chicago who, was at a signing and said, you wrote that up exactly right. That's exactly how it would be set up if there was somebody who was actually doing that in the setting. It's like, oh, thank you. He's like, who does you get to consult with? And I said, well, I didn't consult. I just did Google Maps. He's like, oh, my, I had the street level image and the satellite image and was able to figure it out. And he's like, well, that's awesome.
That's great.
And a little bit scary.
Yeah. Yeah. But you didn't actually type in, hey, where's the best spot to be a sniper in Chicago?
Yeah, exactly.
That might get you in trouble.
No, it was a hostage exchange drop type situation in a short story, and he's like, no, but you set it up the way an actual sniper might well do it. And I'm like, oh, cool, that's awesome. I feel good about myself.
Yeah, that's kind of another perk of going like the urban contemporary instead of epic fantasy. Because who's gonna say, hey, I was in that situation and I had to use my bastard sword to kill a gnome?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and yeah, it's nice. And you can.
On the other hand, though, who's going to be able to argue with you about it? That is exactly how you kill a gnome with a bastard sword. That's the advantage of writing epic fantasy.
Yeah, so there's that give and take. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you find it more constraining to work, with let's say Dresden Files as opposed to Codex Solera, where you already have Chicago in present day. We all kind of know what that entails. Do you find a little bit more freedom when it comes to pretty much creating your own world with your other series?
The constraints are different. They're still there, but they're different because of what you're obligated to do. See, if I want Dresden. If I want to establish a setting in Dresden, all I have to do is say, and we walked into the Burger King, and people go, oh, it's a Burger King. And you don't have to do a lot of setup on that. But if you want to have, somebody walk into the Lost Caverns of McCool in your fantasy series, you're going to have to. Nobody's really been to the Lost Caverns of McCool, so you're going to have to spend some time setting that up. Which gives you a different set of constraints as a storyteller. Because if you spend too much time setting up new stuff, people are going to get bored with reading your endless descriptions of the Lost Caverns of McCool. When what they're really interested in is going to be what's happening in the Lost Caverns. Mm-hmm. There's always a balancing act to be done. And you have different kinds of freedoms with epic fantasy, especially if you're writing viewpoints from multiple characters. Really, you've got so much more flexibility if you're writing multiple character viewpoints than you do if you're just sticking with that one viewpoint. I like to think of it as you have so much more rope with which to hang yourself when you're writing with multiple characters. I think it's a really useful exercise for writers to try and write a first-person viewpoint story. And to sort of see what you can learn from that, because I'd always written multiple viewpoints. When I switched over to the one-person viewpoint in Dresden Files, it takes care of so many things that you don't have to worry about anymore. In terms of you don't have to stop and figure out, well, who's the best character to show this scene from? Whose shoulder do we want to sit on to do this particular bit of drama? Because you're always that decision's already taken care of you for you. But on the other hand, when you do have multiple characters, and you can have some characters who know what's happening, some characters who don't, when you've got all this different kind of dynamic at play, you can do so many more things with it. But it's harder to do. It's a much more complex instrument to play.
Oh yeah, and with that first person, it feels, like with third person, it's like we had Michael J. Sullivan was on, and he basically was like, oh yeah, exposition, you're thinking, if you're in third person, it's like the distant thought of that character that you're telling it through. And with first person, it is more like, this guy is telling me a story right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it creates a much more immediate bond between the reader and that first person character. Mm-hmm. And really will dispose the reader to liking them if you can, if you can do really the least amount of work of making that character likable. Mm-hmm. It's much harder to isolate a reader from a first-person character, I think, than it is from a third-person character. So
yeah, and then coupling in with the contemporary setting, you can say things like, oh dang it, I just read the chapter where Bob said I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Clerks, and you're automatically, that's more bonding, and I think there's twice so far in Cold Days where Harry has mentioned a song, and I don't think I've seen that done in any other Dresden File book. But I think it's "Walk" by the Foo Fighters is mentioned during his recuperation, and then a Shinedown song,
right,
is mentioned, and I thought you couldn't do that in a in an epic fantasy.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah, you can't have those inspirational montages pop up.
Yeah, and that was that, because in my head that entire sequence is a music video, and a pretty hilarious one at that. But who knows? Maybe we'll get some energized fans who want to do that music video. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Well, have you seen the official one with it's falling down?
No,
for Walk. Oh yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's basically a parody of the movie Falling Down.
Huh.
With the guy with the guns. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a fan vid that they did not long ago that's on YouTube where they took clips from all these other shows and movies and so on and to do a Dresden Files fan video, and it's totally amazing because it's I think it's most of the special effects budgets of about 30 different productions all fit into this fan video, and everybody's like, "That's awesome! It should be a show." And it's like, who could pay for it? No one. But yes, it is indeed awesome. That looks great.
Yeah. I've seen those for a few other. There's a name for those, an actual labeled name for those. I'll have to research that, but
mashup, AMV, something.
Maybe mashup, something like that. Yeah.
I think one of them may be just for anime. I don't know.
Possibly.
It does kind of feel like we're talking to that thing in the entrance of Jabba's palace with this new microphone. Wanna talk Jabba do hut? Yeah.
It's a cool microphone, though.
Yeah, I like my new microphone, and it sounds much nicer. It makes my voice sound pretty bassy and pretty good. Pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, it'll just enhance my nasaliness, I believe.
Oh, at least you don't have the Chicago nasal there, buddy. We're going to go see a Bears game.
The Bears?
The Bears. Need some Polish sausage. So, it turns out Jim Butcher picked Chicago for the Dresden Files just kind of on a whim. It was just a portentous thing that happened.
But it works really well for the story because it's it's where do most of those noir detective stories begin? Chicago,
a dark and gloomy city,
Chicago,
yeah,
New York.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, it worked out.
It did. So that was our episode with Jim Butcher. Which I still think is pretty cool that we got him to be on our show. We actually coerced him into coming on. And last week we did that the review of Cold Days, and somebody posted a comment on that episode along the lines of, "I can't believe you guys did a review of Jim Butcher's book. One episode after you spent an hour kissing his ass." That guy's name was Tony, by the way. And
no, but we thank him for his because there was a thing at the end that made it all worthwhile.
Yeah, what was that?
That was that smiley face.
Oh yeah. I was offended by his post first, but then he put a smiley face with a winky.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, it's all good.
That's a universal sign of just kidding. It's kind of although it doesn't work for everything, it's like if you text, "I'm breaking up with you, whore," to your girlfriend, and then put a little winky smiley face at the end of it, you're still technically broken up. At this point, it's her decision.
Yeah, and that might not be the most tactful, couth way to do it. But, but thank you, Tony, for listening to the episode and putting a post on there. I tried to comment back, but it somehow got lost to the cyber trolls out there. I tried to post a comment like, "Oh yeah, I guess we were a little sycophantic now that I listened to it again." But
Well,
you would be too if you were talking to Jim Butcher. Damn it!
I was all flustered. I was like, oh, sorry about you sick. Thank you for show, Hook. Yeah, but then
Hulk, take nap now.
I can't help it. He's actually, probably my favorite guy that I like to read.
You mean author?
No, I like to read him. I like to, creep outside of his window and look at his expressions, to be like, oh, he's angry. He just burned his microwave pizza.
What does that mean?
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I don't stalk.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of had to stalk him to get him on the show, though.
Yeah. I sent a few emails and I was like, we really like you. Be on our show. I'm just glad, and I mentioned this before. I'm really glad it didn't turn into an episode of the Chris Farley show.
Yeah.
Where you were just like, you remember when the Knights of the Cross showed up the first time? That was pretty cool, right?
So Thomas is a vampire. Are vampires real?
Did you make that up? Like you invented vampires? Yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen. And this is weird. We're sitting in the same room together because you're still in town. You're leaving tomorrow though on a jet plane.
Unfortunately.
And I don't know if I should be looking at the mic or looking over at you because it's kind of weird.
Well, I don't blame you, and I actually thank you for not looking because I've actually been staring at your boobs this entire time.
Not you got to buy me dinner first.
Okay.
So, anyway, it's a couple days after Christmas. Did you get much writing done in the last few days?
Oh, I did. I rewrote a huge part of a short story. I haven't finished it quite yet, just because I'm stuck on a part.
We got to work on that.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm not good with transitions. I'm like, with a short story, you can't really draw it out. Like, it just has to go to, point A, right to point B, no point AB.
Yeah, I would recommend. All right, there's if you're looking for someone to emulate when it comes to short stories, and even with novels too, Saladin Ahmed.
Yes.
His short stories are amazing. You should read those, and then you'll be like, oh, this is how to do it. And he's one of those authors. Most of the authors we've had on the show, I feel the same way, but with a few in particular, I feel like I really wish I could eat this person's brain and gain their power. And hey, I have the washer on in the background. I just realized that. Hang on, talk, and I'll turn the washer off.
Yeah, really, I totally love Throne of the Crescent Moon. It's just it's different, and it's overflowing. Oh, there we got. All right, we got problems. I think Ben just caught one of the gnomes that steals all the left socks in the world.
That was the dryer.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the gnomes.
The dryer's been running this whole time, and I didn't even know. It's probably been running for days because the dryness sensor is broken. Ow! I hit my knee.
Okay, but yeah,
So-
we've actually caught the little gnome that steals socks in the dryer.
Yeah.
We're holding him right now, kind of much like Toot Toot from.
That's a character I want to see more developed in the coming Dresden Files books.
But he's getting more and more hardcore.
Oh yeah.
He's still cute, but I think in another 3 books he's gonna be all like, "You think this is a game, bitch? I'm gonna kill you."
I want to hear that now.
I'll stab you.
I can't do the Toot Toot voice as good as Jay Marsters does. But.
Yeah, no, it's like, "I stared down in the glossy mother. What have you done? You ain't nothing. You don't know what I've seen. I have seen some shit, man." All right, yeah, that's.
I'm about to get real on your ass.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't heard the audiobooks, you're not going to get that joke.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, the audiobooks are great. Oh boy, yeah. Anyway, so we were talking about contemporary fiction, not so much the urban fantasy, but contemporary fantasy. 'Cause, there's a difference. You can do urban fantasy and still be, on the epic scale. Like it doesn't have to be modern day. Just look at the Mistborn series, which I don't think you've partook of yet.
Not yet. That's on the list.
That's on the list. Yeah, that's like that all happens basically in like the first book takes place in one city, and it's like a metropolitan type city. And but it's in an epic fantasy setting. So yeah, you can do like urban fantasy in any setting you want, just as long as it's in a big city. But yeah, the contemporary fantasy kind of has to be. Well, I don't know. You're kind of doing a contemporary fantasy now. You may have put that on hold, but
oh no, it's there. I'm writing it. It's just slow because I get stuck in parts, and I'm like, okay, but I write with I for some reason I write as if I were chiseling it into stone. And I'm like, no,
it takes you a while.
Yeah. I'm
do,
like,
do you
I'm like,
feel do you feel like you do that because you feel like you have to craft every word and sentence the right way the first time? Like,
I do have that. I have that problem.
You go back and like edit yourself after you've written a sentence, and you're like,
yeah, like sentence by sentence, I go through it, and then I'll look at the paragraph. I'm like, yeah, this doesn't really fit. Oh no, this isn't the way this character would say this, or this isn't the type of reaction he would have.
I used to do that too, but I've kind of I've been trying, and I'm getting better at it. At just turning the editor mind off. And I'll just let myself keep writing, because I'll tell myself, I'll fix this later.
Right.
And that actually I found that I can get further into, because I still have yet to complete a full novel. And I think that is part of the problem, is I keep going back and checking myself as I'm going, which, I mean, that might work for some people, but it just really kind of takes a lot of my thunder.
Yeah, well, that, and I keep thinking of new things to add. I'm like, I could change this. Okay, but for that to change, I have to, for that to change, that thing that I haven't written, that's going to be changing in 4 chapters. I got to set it up now. So let me do this, and So I'm super lazy when it comes to editing myself. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So I want to do it right. I feel like I have to do it right the first time. And
that's why you have me now.
Yes.
And it was, I think one of the things that's going to help, we did a little bit of a brainstorming and an outlining.
Yes.
And I think it's, other people may not really be into the outlining thing. I think I don't see how I have written thus far without outlining. And you can deviate from the outline as you go and change it as you go. It's not set in stone.
Right.
And I think that little bit that we did, when you outline something like that, it kind of gets a fire going under you.
Yeah, it lets you know. It gives you the Google Maps, instead of having to aimlessly wander from street to street hoping that you get to the right place.
Yeah, it gives you the Google Maps instead of the iMaps, the Apple app maps.
It's like
okay. I put in. I wasn't too sure where exactly the Starbucks in my town was. Just shows you how often I venture out of my cave. But like, I dropped my son off at like a kind of a preschool type thing. It's not really school or preschool. And I was like, he's there for a couple hours. I'm gonna go sit at a Starbucks and write. And then I ended up driving around for 30 minutes. Because the iTunes, or the iMap or whatever, the Apple Map, took me to some weird intersection where there wasn't even a plaza or anything, and it turns out that the Starbucks I was looking for was actually in the same plaza as in the same plaza there as the Bears, in the same plaza as the where I dropped my son off. So I drove around for like 30 minutes looking for the Starbucks that was literally, I could have thrown a stone from where I dropped my son off to the Starbucks.
It's happened to me too. It's like, okay, wait, you want me to turn here? It's like, yes. What, your car doesn't automatically transform into a boat? It's like, just drive into the lake, Guillermo.
Well, I think that's, that's kind of the metaphor I'm going for here, is that, you got to know where you're going.
Yeah.
And then, you'll get there quicker and more efficiently, you know?
Yeah, but then I'm like, oh, you know what? Now that I think about it, yeah, I want to go get coffee, but I also want to stop by the comic book shop.
Mm-hmm. See,
yeah. But I passed the comic book shop, so let me go back to the comic book shop.
Yeah, those are the little deviations you can take if you have that outline. You don't have to stay strict.
Right.
Like I outline now. I set it up more like the Rachel Aaron. She had that book, the 2K to 10K.
Yes.
Which everybody needs to go buy that book and read it. But yeah, that's kind of a really detailed outline where you set up, every chapter, and you not detail, you at least bullet point every scene within every chapter. And I found that alone really got my kind of the creative juices flowing. And then I was like, well, I already know where I'm going, so I'm gonna write this bitch, and do it. And right now I'm only about 12,000 words in, but it's like those are a good 12,000 words, and I like them, and I know where I'm going.
Yeah. That's the problem I have is mostly because I need to. If it didn't need to be funny, I would be able to write this a lot faster, but it's difficult to try to, like, just kind of make something funny, because it's like I could make it not funny, but then I would be bored writing it.
Yeah. That I find, that's a little hard to help, because for the people out there listening, Guillermo's doing something I think is pretty unique.
Because I can't do anything easily. I can't do anything that's already been done. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
I'm a trailblazer.
Well, it's like, there's of course there's Terry Pratchett out there.
Yeah.
And he's kind of got a lock on the whole fantasy comedy, but that's a very specific kind of fantasy comedy. It's like, silly stuff happens, but there's still, like, there's heart in the story, in the books, in this world.
Yeah.
And just off the wall craziness and insane world building, and that's not what you're doing. You're basically what you got going is Clerks, but with trolls and goblins and elves
in modern times where that's normal.
Yeah, but it's like a secondary modern world. So
yeah.
I like that. I think you're onto something there.
I just thought, well, I probably shouldn't say how I came up with it, but or where the thought first came to me.
I think you already did.
I may have
the certain den of ill repute.
Yeah. So I mean, I was like looking at the horse, and I'm like,
nope.
I'm kidding.
Guillermo, strippers.
Yes.
Okay, scrippers.
Scrippers.
You're looking at the scrippers.
Oh yeah, and I was like, that shit kind of looks like an elf. Wouldn't it be funny if I was sitting right across from a troll, and and like I'm like, but yeah, I mean, I there'd still need to be like techno music, so it'd have to be in the modern world. Why haven't they made any epic fantasy? It's like epic fantasy is always like, it's always like olden days and stuff, and I'm like,
it's not guys, a ragtag group driving around in a minivan.
Right. It's like
not to give away your whole story here, but
yeah, it's kind of like Scooby-Doo meets Clerks meets Lord of the Rings, which sounds kind of stupid.
No, dude. The more variants you can put into something, like the more it's unique to you. It might be, sure, you're taking familiar things, like plot devices from one thing or world building from another thing, but you're mashing it together in a way that makes it unique to you, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so. It's like Star Wars mixed with a little bit of Care Bears thrown in, and
dragons.
And dragons.
Oh no, that's Aragon.
Oh really?
Oh, burn! No, I'm kidding. No, there's no Care Bears, but Aragon was basically Star Wars in an epic fantasy setting at first. But now, I mean, I haven't finished the last book, but I really like the series. But yeah, at first it was I was just waiting for one of those "I am your father" moments to show up. So
I understand. Well,
and it kind of did.
Well, I mean, it's like you can't. It's like even Star Wars itself was a mashup of a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
so it's like I dig it. I mean, that's everything. Always goes back to Star Wars. Every reference ever made always goes back to Star
On
Wars.
shot first, yo.
Yes.
So, let's wrap this episode up. I think we got a lot of airing of grievances done in the Festivus tradition. What was the poll? It was the Festivus.
Yeah, just Festivus poll.
Poll. Okay, yeah. I never really watched a lot of Seinfeld, so I really quick, I want to say something, and this has been gnawing at my mind. We've the last few months.
Briefs.
Briefs, yeah. I'll be brief.
No, boxer briefs.
Oh, boxer briefs, yeah.
Yeah.
I got some for Christmas, by the way. And they're tight. I kind of like them. Is it weird that I like tight underwear?
No. It holds the junk together.
Yeah, it does.
Yet it's not constricting. Like it's a perfect amalgamation.
Yeah.
Like if they become sentient, they will take over the world.
So anyway, last few months we've been listening to and reading the Dresden Files, and we've also been consuming the Monster Hunter series by Larry Correia.
Yeah. Both excellent series.
Yeah, both of them are contemporary.
Yes.
Mostly fantasy, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, like, how cool would it be if there were a crossover between the Dresden Files and Monster Hunter International? How great would it be to have Harry Dresden have to team up with Owen Pitt?
They wouldn't. I don't think they'd get along.
I think. Well, at first, I think they would freaking hate each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just imagine the story being something like, Harry, because they can't live in the same universe.
No,
MHI and Harry Dresden do not exist in the same Earth.
Right.
So it'd have to be something like the old ones from Monster Hunter and the outsiders from the Dresden verse kind of team up, and they decide to teleport Harry Dresden to the MHI universe. Maybe Harry and maybe Thomas and you have to bring Mouse.
Yeah.
And this could be just a little side quest thing, so that it doesn't have to talk about what's going on in the Dresden verse. But they get ported over to here, and Owen and maybe Edward the Orc, and maybe some like Trip. I like him. He's a good character.
Yeah.
So have them all together, and they have to solve something, like figure out how Harry got sucked over to this universe, and like MHI can't contact their base group or whatever because Harry's Murphyonic field takes out other fancy equipment. So they have to deal with that, and I just think it would be really cool to see like a bunch of monsters and crap get thrown at Harry Dresden and Owen Pitt, and like how cool would that be? We need to get Larry Correia and Jim Butcher on this, and do a Kickstarter and do it. It needs to happen.
I think we might have to activate fanfic powers for that.
Maybe.
They're both very busy.
Yeah, busy people, sure, but
because they're busy writing awesome stuff, though.
Yeah. Look at Larry Correia has like 2 active series right now with the Monster Hunter series and the Grim Noir Chronicles.
Yes,
I think I haven't read those yet. And then Jim Butcher got finished writing.
No, we're on a first name basis.
Jimothy. I'll go with Jimothy. And he just got done like the first book of and it couldn't have just been I Killed a Bug. It couldn't have just been.
I thought you were clapping for.
It couldn't have just been a one shot. No, he has to start a new series of steampunk books. And while the Dresden Files is getting into its 15th book, 16th if you count side jobs.
That's right.
So like they're very busy people, but come on, we can make this happen. Get a Kickstarter with enough, financing, and I'm sure they could find the time. Not saying they're money grubbing, but I'm saying like, if you pay a writer, he or she will write.
Yeah, I mean, if you pay me to make my own mashup of Care Bear Star Wars meets Meryl Streep and Doubt.
Dude, write that down. You got to get going on that. We need to find a plot now with those 3 things. So I think we're going to call it an episode. And
Darth Vader molests a Care Bear.
And there's a banana phone involved. Sorry, I'm just looking at random stuff on my desk.
The banana phone is...
There's a banana phone, and there's a Lard Lad donuts. Lard Lad? Wait, what was the donuts in The Simpsons?
That was
Lard Lad, yeah. And some Planters cashews. Okay, no, I'm done looking at stuff around my office. So, that'll do it for us. We have one more episode. I think I might be able to get it up before the year is out. If not, then we'll see you next year with a third and final installment of our interview with Jim Butcher, where we'll be talking about writing a long series, which he knows a little bit about.
Yeah, I can't even think past my first one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when he told me that he pretty much came up with the entire arc of the series, like in one, like it sort of like, not in one sitting, well, probably in one sitting. I was just like mind blown. I was like, wow, I really am minor league.
Yeah.
I'm not even minor league.
Remember,
I'm like neighborhood baseball.
But remember what he said in our first interview. He's like, you don't have to be as good as Jim Butcher. You know, you don't have to write like him. You just have to beat all these other a-holes out there trying to get an agent like you are, you know.
You mean our audience?
Yes. Well, dude, okay, no. Oh, it's kind of like that. Remember Last Comic Standing?
Yeah. That
one of the guys said, like, okay, so, you know, first, here I am just telling jokes on stage, and now I'm in a comedy fight with my best friends. And, like, you know, that's what it is. It's like we're all a group of writers, but, you know, we're all kind of trying to, you know, outdo each other.
It's like,
but in a fun way.
Yeah, it's like Mary Shelley secretly thought Emerson was kind of a douche. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. And look, she's the one that's, you know, standing the test of time. Frankenstein is still pretty scary.
Yeah, well, Walden Pond was pretty scary, too.
Yeah, but nobody's making movies starring Robert De Niro based on Walden Pond.
Yeah, Walden Pond would kind of make for a boring movie.
Yeah. So that does it for us. Again, thank you to Tony for posting a comment on our site, which is fmwpodcast.com, where you can stream episodes, make comments on our posts. You can also subscribe through iTunes. Feel free to leave us a few stars and maybe a comment or a review. Stitcher, we're on Stitcher. And what else? Oh yeah, you can follow us at FMW Podcast on Twitter, and we also have a Facebook page, all that good stuff. So until next time, I am Ben Love.
And I am Guillermo Care Bear Molestation Bliss.
Right. I forgot to say my middle name. Or my middle initial.
That's okay. I'm going to call back to someone. If they aren't paying attention, that's just good.
Yeah, awkward. That's our show.